And the gist of it is they found that creativity drops off at a startling rate. I think it's around 14, you're at about 75% probability of having a strong creative drive and ability. And then by the time you're in your 20s, it's down to about 50%. By the time you get to your early 40s, you're down to about 5%.
No kidding.
So I give you the punchline. I talk about it in the book as a preamble to the whole point of why you want to be creative and why being creative and innovative and using your imagination are actually natural attributes of our brains, and it's been kind of pounded out of us. I read this whole thing, and I had a guy that was actually being the beta reader for Be Different, and he was having a hard time with this. He was a Marine colonel, retired. He was at the Navy War College at one point.
Yeah.
Very logical guy, and he didn't think that rules, regulations, structure, and all those things were really the bugaboo that I was making out in the early premise of my book. And then I found this research report in the United States, went over like 10 years, and I sent it to him, and I said, look at the bottom line. And the bottom line was there was nothing about genetics, there's nothing about biology, the descent of creativity. It was all about the institutional conditioning and the bombardment on the human mind in every country, but definitely the United States, to conform, to obey, conform, to comply, to color inside the lines. And also they found that there's very, very little, if any, incentive or reward for doing otherwise. As a matter of fact, the entire reward system is skewed towards, if you want to get along, to go along, get good grades, get a good school, whatever you're going to do, you have to do what we say the way we say it.
Yep.
And one example is, there's lots of different ways to do mathematics. So if a gifted child or teenager, or even if they were taught by somebody else to do a division problem, and they have to show their work, and they get to the answer, and it's the correct answer, and they get a D because they didn't use the process that the teacher wanted them to use.
Exactly. Like, what is wrong with this situation here? That's terrible. So basically, you're just treating a bunch of folks like, hey, eliminate creativity, follow the norm, like you're saying. And it reminds me a lot about the military, because it's like, hey, well, we can do this other thing that's a lot easier. And then it's like, no, well, that's not how we always do things. That's not what the standard operating procedure is. Get in line, essentially.
Yeah. So in the SEAL teams, when I first came in, they were more about individual judgment in the context of the moment. So they taught you how to make decisions. They taught you how to assess threats. They taught you how to really have a good understanding of your capabilities and limitations and those of your team, because not every single group of SEALs would have the exact same capabilities. Just think of like if you grabbed any 100 musicians and broke them up into 5 musician groups, which one of them is going to become, a great rock band or a great musician? It's not, the chemistry's not going to be there. Something's going to happen, right? But they would let us learn the SOPs for things like an immediate reaction to a contact, like the first things you do when somebody shoots at you. But the plan to get into that situation was pretty much based on judgment and intuition and creativity as far as the way the plan was laid out. There wasn't a playbook for it. And what you did after you broke contact in that situation was all on the judgment and the insight and imagination of the leader. Mm-hmm. That changed later on. Later on, we got bigger. Later on, the kind of jungle warfare, Vietnam era, kind of creative approach to doing every mission a little bit different. Because, the bad guys, they see patterns too.
Sure.
So they learned early on, if they executed in a way that created a pattern, the bad guys would figure out the pattern and they would jump them.
Right.
So it was self-preservation to constantly mix it up, change it up all the time. Later on, we got bigger. It became more difficult to try to teach people, to train people to do this, because it takes a lot of time. It's not so much learning philosophy from a book, but it is learning philosophy from doing, having people make you pay for your bad mistakes, make you pay for your indecision or your bad decisions, and then come back in and explain what was going on in your head when that happened. Not you didn't do it right, you didn't do it wrong. Trying to understand how you think and help you get into the right. Later on, it became rote memorization of leadership techniques, rote memorization of tactics.
No kidding.
There is play number 3 is the right play to call. And then it was reinforced by training groups. But I will tell you that every single conflict after that, that's a negative change in the way training happened. Everybody within 2 or 3 missions reverted back to the original way of special operations thinking.
Thank God.
Everybody.
Okay, I'm glad I heard that.
You have
Yeah.
to do it, because when you're there, somebody tells you there's going to be 5 people or 10 people or whatever, and you show up and it's nothing like that at all. So you don't have a choice. You have to think it through. You have to adapt.
Exactly.